Right guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to explain to you how to go from 30% body fat to around 10 to 15% body fat. 10 to 15% body fat, you're going to probably have a bicep vein, you might have some visible abs showing, you're going to start to look athletic, you're going to start to look like you look after yourself when you go to the gym, you're going to start to look like you actually do what you've been doing and putting in some work, right? I'm going to use Craig as an example. So Craig, probably higher than 30% to start with, and definitely lower than 15% right now. I'm going to talk you through what we did with him. Took him from around 196 pounds, just under 200 pounds, which is like 14 stone and a bit, down to around at his lowest, like 11 and a half stone. Now he's sitting at about just over 12 stone, right? Now, with Craig here, we've gone through a few different phases, because ultimately you are going to have to go through phases with this shit. If you drop him going from 30 to 15% body fat or lower, you don't really want to try and do that in just one all-out stint of fat loss. That's probably where you've messed up in the past. So I'm going to talk about phases, I'm going to talk about the training that we've been doing, I'm going to talk about the nutrition we've been doing, and what you should be doing as well, right? Because ultimately, there's no point listening to what Craig did because he isn't you. It needs to be set up for you individually so you can actually get a result. That's one of the biggest mistakes guys will make. They'll watch a video like this, or they'll watch a video of an influencer training or a coach training online, and they'll think, you know what, I'm just going to copy that and see how I get on. And what happens is usually it'll work for the first few weeks or month or whatever, and then afterwards you realise it's not built for you. You can't sustain it, it's got no legs on it, and you end up just falling off and going back to where you was, right? Just before we get started then, just in case you don't know who I am, my name's Christian Summers. I'm a men's only coach from Huddersfield, West Yorkshire, and I coach guys online all around the world. Here's some of the guys that I've been getting results with over the last few years, but today we're going to be talking about Craigie boy. So, first of all, nutrition side of things. The best diet is going to be the one that you can stick to, okay? What Craig's food actually looks like on a daily basis is something that fits someone who is working on the tools all day, right? Craig's a joiner, he's grafting, he's up early, he's out all day, he's back. He doesn't often have the availability to heat things on site. However, he did actually buy a Ninja, like a little Ninja air fryer thing that's designed that you can just take it with you. So he did end up actually cracking that code as well. But Craig didn't want to be eating like 7 meals a day. He wasn't used to anything like that. So that's not what we're going to have him do. Basically, we had him eat 4 meals. And really, it looked like 3 square meals and a snack. So it was super simple. If it was a day where he trained, he'd go to the gym in the morning, fasted or just off a piece of fruit, which actually classes as another snack, I suppose. Then afterwards, he'd have cream of rice or protein powder and oats, something like super easy to digest, something super convenient that he'd made the night before. A few hours later, he'd have something like a chicken wrap. Then in the evening, he'd have like steak and veg or steak and homemade chips. And then before bed, he'd have a 0% Greek yogurt with some dark chocolate, some berries, things like that. So what you found was over the course of the day, he had 4 decent servings of protein to hit his protein targets. We weren't going too crazy high with the fats. We weren't cutting out carbohydrates because that's a bad idea as well if you want to look like you actually lift at the end of doing a fat loss phase. And it was just a diet that you could stick to and enjoy. We based it off foods that he actually enjoyed as well, which is the most important thing. Something that I do with guys, as soon as anyone comes into work with me, I ask, okay, what foods do you actually like? And then we create a plan around that includes them foods but actually align with your goals. So that's where we started in terms of daily structure. Now, for you, that can look like 2 big meals and a snack. It can look like 2 snacks, 2 meals. It can look like 3 meals, 2 snacks. It can look like anything, right? The most important thing is the numbers game. So people will try and get around this and it just doesn't fucking work. But ultimately, you need to be downloading MyFitnessPal, or I've recently used Chronometer. Pretty good, probably slightly better than MyFitnessPal. I do believe it tells you more of the micronutrient stuff, some more of the health stuff, but all that crazy shit doesn't matter right now. Main thing is you download MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, something where you can actually track your food a little bit. I'm not saying you have to track your food forever, but you need to do this at least to start with so you understand what you're fucking having. Otherwise, it's very difficult to know what's going in your body. It's very difficult to make changes and continue to see progress. So, what we're looking for. I don't recommend using calorie calculators online. They're often inaccurate. What I would go with is just entering onto one of these apps what you currently eat in a day now. One, it's going to give you an idea of what your maintenance calories is. because it's actually what you're eating now to maintain body weight, unless you're gaining right now, but either way, it's worth doing. And then 2, you're actually going to be able to see what the fuck you've been putting in your body, which oftentimes is a surprise for a lot of people, okay? Even if you've done this stuff before. So track what a typical day of eating looks like now. If you don't know the exact weights, guesstimate. From there, say for example, you bang all your food in, it's like, fuck. And don't just put like a really good day either, put like a typical day. From there, reduce the calories on that by 500, and that's going to be a calorie target for fat loss to start with, okay? This way it's not too hardcore, it's not too extreme, but you're definitely going to be in a deficit. You're going to definitely start seeing fat loss progress. Next thing you want to do is create a protein target. This wants to be around 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. The reason why I don't just say 1 gram per pound of body weight is some guys are leaner, some guys are fatter. If you're holding on a lot of body fat and you're 30% body fat, you probably don't need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You'll be all right with 0.8, maybe even 0.7, okay? So quick maths, if someone weighs 200 pounds, that's 14 stone 4, by the way. 200 pounds, 0.8 grams per 200 pounds would be, quick maths, 160 grams of protein. So this is where you start if you weigh 200 pounds, right? 160 grams of protein. Then you want around 0.2 to 0.3 grams per pound of body weight from fats. So 0.2 to 0.3 would be 40 to 60 grams of fat based on a 200 pound male. And then lastly, the rest of your calories that you've got left over want to come from carbohydrates. You always want to keep some carbs in, especially on days where you're lifting weights and especially before and after your training, to help fuel the training and then help recovery as well. So that's where we start, right? So you've got your structure, how many meals you want to have a day, how many snacks. You find out what your current calories are, you take 500 off that, 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein, 0.2 to 0.3 grams of fats, and the rest of your calories from carbohydrates. So now you've got your food. Next up, weight training, exercise. You should not be seeing, this is super important, even if you're someone that's just saying, I just want to lose weight, I don't want to get super ripped, or I don't want to build loads and loads of muscle, I don't want to be massive and jacked. Ultimately, what's going to happen is if you do not lift weights and you just try and lose weight, you're going to lose muscle as well, and you're going to look like a sack of shit. You're going to look like a pencil with no muscle, and you're not going to look good, and you're not going to feel good, right? If you want to hold on to at least the muscle you've got, if not build a little bit, you want to be lifting weights. Super important. So I recommend going into the gym. If you don't really like training, 2 times a week. If you love training, 4 or 5 times. Okay? Anywhere from 2 to 5 times a week is going to be plenty. It's going to be fine, okay? If you're going to go 2 times a week, then I'd recommend 2 full body workouts with a couple days rest in between. If you're doing 3 times, I'd recommend a full body, rest upper, rest lower body. If you're going 4 times, that's when you can start getting creative. You can do something like a push-pull legs upper, or a push-pull legs full body, or which is what I currently do. So there's all sorts of different splits you can do. But the main thing is you're getting in the gym and you're training every muscle group on average twice a week. That's usually a good start point. With your weight stuff in the gym, I could go into detail on that in another video, but the main thing is that you're doing exercises where you know you can do them safely. That's probably step 1. If you're trying out something where it feels a bit riskier, something like a deadlift or a squat or something like that, you want to be really paying attention to your technique. Maybe send me a technique video if you want on Instagram. Absolutely fine with that. I'll put my link in the bio for my Instagram. But you want to make sure your technique's really good on things like that. And basically, over the course of the weeks that you're progressing through your fat loss, you just want to make sure that at the very least, your performance, your strength levels in the gym aren't going down. If anything, you want to see them creeping up a little bit. That's a really good indicator that shows that you're holding onto muscle tissue, or you're actually building new muscle tissue, which, counter to popular belief, you can actually do in a fat loss phase, especially if you're quite new to this, or you haven't been super consistent, or you haven't been following a super structured plan. Reps anywhere from 5 to 20. Controlled technique. Make sure you're not doing anything too silly. I'll make some videos on training ASAP Rocky, so you don't have to worry about that as well. So that's training side of things. That's food covered. That training there with the weights is not to burn calories, that's not the way you want to see your training. You want to see that to hold on to muscle tissue. Then next up, we've got steps and cardio. This is like the cherry on the top. The food is going to do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to dropping body fat. The weights is going to do most of the heavy lifting in keeping muscle. That's what's going to do the majority of the work. Steps and cardio will make a difference, but they're the cherry on the top. What I recommend doing to start with, if I'm being honest, is literally keep these wherever they are at the minute. So if you're checking your health app on your iPhone, look at your average steps for the last week or the last month, just match that. Just say, right, I'm making all these changes with my food, with my training. I'm just going to get the same amount of steps in and don't even bother trying to add cardio in yet. Follow this complete plan I've just spoke about now for a month. This is what I call the behavior change phase. This is exactly what we did with Craig. We did a behavior change phase. He trained 4 or 5 days a week because he loved his training. In fact, I think we trained 5 days a week. He absolutely loved his training. We did a push-pull legs, upper lower. So we trained all his muscle groups twice a week. We had a rest day between the push-pull legs and then the upper lower. So after 3 days, we had a rest. Then he did upper lower. But he loved being in the gym, right? So that's why we trained 5 days a week. You don't have to do that. We just matched his current steps. We didn't add in any extra cardio, and we just gave him a nutrition plan based on foods that he liked in a very minor deficit, but nothing crazy. And in them first 2 to 4 weeks, we didn't even set, and I don't recommend you do either, I don't even recommend that you set a fat loss, weight loss target. The target at this point is the inputs. The target is just fucking sticking to it. Now, what I recommend is, for self-accountability, is weighing yourself every day. Some of you might be thinking, I don't want to weigh myself every day because it might fuck with my head if the scale goes up. Know this for a fact. The scale weight is going to go up. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. It's going to fucking ping pong. All the way through you doing your fat loss phases, gaining phases, throughout your entire life, your body weight is going to go up and down, and that's okay. But what this is going to do is, we know from the research, we've had like scientific proof on this, isn't just me fucking saying it. If you weigh yourself each morning, you are way more likely to do well with your nutrition and your exercise that day because it holds you accountable. It's like you're measuring it every day. It's like measuring your bank balance, You don't want it to go down, you're more likely to save your money. So I don't recommend measuring your bank balance every day, by the way. It's probably not. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it fucking is. Maybe it's the same as dropping body fat, right? Or staying in shape. So body weight every single day, every morning after you've been to the toilet. Weigh it, log it, okay? What you'll start to see is trends through the week. You'll see days where you might not be as consistent with your water intake. You might see that after you train legs, the body weight goes up, which you're like, how does that happen? Well, it's called the stress response. You just hold on to water there. But you're going to see it go up and down. But what we probably will see is, as long as you are sticking to things really well, or to be honest, we definitely will see it if you stick to this, body weight's going to start trending down. The average is going to start trending down. The lowest weight that you see in the week is going to be less than the week prior. Once you've done this for 2 to 4 weeks, ideally 4, then you can start dropping the hammer if you've been able to stick to this. If you've been struggling to stick to it, keep working on sticking to it for another 2 to 4 weeks. Identify the gaps, get better at it. That, in a nutshell, is how we start. So we've done nutrition, we've done training. I've given you a bit of an example of what the first block is going to look like. After you do that behavior change phase, this is exactly what we did with Craig, went into his first fat loss phase. So at this point, we're like, right, okay, his step count's 6,000. I don't think it was with Craig. I think it was like 8 or 9 or 10 or something. He's a joiner. He's on his feet all day. Let's increase that by anywhere from 10 to 20%. So if you're already doing 6,000 steps, let's go 7,200 or fucking 7,500 or 8,000. Easy maths. That's the new target there. Cardio. We're not going to go too crazy with this, but we want you to get into the routine of doing it. So let's do 2 lots of 30 minutes cardio a week. But to make it even easier, we use averages for all of these. So just in case one day you don't hit your step target for some fluke reason, something happens at home or at work, one day you don't hit your cardio target for whatever reason, we use it as an average. So it's 8,000 steps average over the course of the week. So if one day is under, you can go up another day and make it higher. Same with the cardio. It's an hour of cardio a week. If you want to do it in 2 lots of 30 minutes, that's fine. If you want to do it in an hour in one shot, that's absolutely fine as well. Now, food's getting easy to stick to as well. We're going to drop the food by 250 calories. We set as first target. We want to lose around 1% of body weight per week, and that's exactly what we did with Craig. And we did that first fat loss phase from around 16 to 20 weeks. In that time frame, we dropped a significant amount of body fat. We dropped about 30 pounds. From there, we did a short reverse diet where we slowly increased food. So this is where the phases come in, right? So I don't recommend that anyone does a fat loss phase more than 20 weeks at a time who's new to this or who isn't a professional bodybuilder or a competitive bodybuilder. Reason being, it can get we can get a bit of what's called diet fatigue, not just in like the way you're feeling in terms of like physically, but like mentally we can get a bit drawn out from the process as well. So what I recommend is after you've done anywhere from like 16 to 20 weeks, some guys might only need 12, but if you're dropping from 30% of body fat like Craig down to 12, probably want to do a full 20-week fat loss phase after that initial behavior change phase. You should have dropped a fucking big chunk of weight. After that, we need to get your metabolism back up. We need to get your body feeling like it can actually perform well again, okay? And we actually want to build a bit of muscle too. But we want to do it without regaining body fat and regaining body weight. This is where the nuance comes in. This is where it's super important to get this shit right. So how the fuck do you do that? Super simple. Increase your calories from anywhere from 50 to 200 per week. And that way, you're not increasing your food so much where you start increasing body fat and body weight again, but you do start to bring the metabolism back up. And I've seen guys where over the course of 12 weeks, we've increased the food by over 1,000 calories and they're fucking leaner than when they started it. There's a few things that happen in here. Back end of fat loss phases, sometimes testosterone gets down regulated, metabolism slows down, getting the food back in, gets them things kicking up again. And also what usually happens as well is, whether we care to admit it or not, there is an element of human error here. So what happened, I can't fucking speak. There is an element of human error here. So what happens generally is, as we start to increase the food each week, people actually get better at sticking to it. They fall off less. So they actually just get fucking better results anyway. So typically people will lean out. With Craig, he had a few blunders here and there. He had a few socials. At the time, he loved having a drink as well with rugby lads. So he would occasionally like body weight spike and then come back down. Body weight spike, come back down. But overall, we built loads of muscle. He stayed with the process and we got his food up nice and high. Then, once we'd done that, we had his food up significantly, went for a second fat loss phase. This took us right to the end of August 2025 / start of September. We managed to take him all the way down to 162 pounds from like just under 200. He didn't lose as much total body weight in this second phase, and nor should you, because 1% is less than what 1% was beforehand. But then also you actually want to slow down the rate of loss as you get leaner so that you're not losing too much muscle as well. You shouldn't really use any muscle, but like what you'd find is if someone's holding a lot of body fat, you can get away with losing a lot of weight at first, like even up to 2% of body weight per week without them really losing any muscle at all. But that's mainly identified in the gym. If your progress in the gym's fine, chances are you're not losing any muscle. So we've got Craig all the way down in the second fat loss phase to 162. And then we pulled his food back up. And in this time, rather than going into a reverse diet, we did a bit of a lean gain phase. So we increased Craig's food from September, October, November, December, January, February, March. And we continued the lean gain phase throughout that entire process. Now, we weren't increasing the food every week, not like the reverse diet. The reverse diet was like, right, we increased the food by 200 calories week 1, body weight stayed the same. Okay, increase it 100 calories week 2, body weight went down. Okay, 100 week 3, body weight went down. 100 week 4, body weight stayed the same. 100. You want to start off with the biggest amount first, like that 200 calorie mark, and then it's probably like 100 calories. And then like maybe towards the back end of the reverse diet, like 50. Lean gain phase, a little bit different. We wanted to get the calories bumped up straight away and pull them out of that deficit and actually start to gain a little bit of body fat, but for the purpose of building muscle as well. So we actually increased, because you are going to build more muscle in a lean gain phase than you are a reverse diet typically. So food went up by about 500 calories week 1. From there, I don't think we had to make a change for like 6 to 8 weeks. From there, I think we made a calorie bump up at about 200, 250. And then food's pretty much stayed the same for a while. And then we bumped it up again like another 200. So with the lean gain phase, because you make these bumps up and it puts you into a calorie surplus where you're eating more than enough food to recover and you're gaining a little bit of body fat, but to help build the muscle, you can essentially get away with, you don't have to make as many changes. But that's what we just find, okay? Similar to a fat loss, you probably don't need to make that many changes in a fat loss phase. Reverse diet's a bit different. You know, you want to be making a bit more frequent changes. So this last phase, we've got his food up, and he's been chilling at around the same food now for about the last 8 weeks. So all of Feb, all of March, a little bit at the end of Jan, he's been pretty much on the same food now, around 3,000 calories. And he is, as you can see, in way better shape than when he started. His PBs are through the roof, he's stronger, he's fitter, and he's feeling like a fucking champ. So that is how you go from 30% body fat all the way down to 10 to 15. So as you can tell, it wasn't just in one fat loss phase in 12 weeks, it took about 15 months. We did his behavior change phase, 2 to 4 weeks, fat loss phase, 16 to 20 weeks, reverse diet, 12 weeks, fat loss phase again, anywhere from 12 to 20 weeks this time because he's not holding as much fat, so we could do it a bit less. Then a lean gain phase for about 6 months. As always, if you've got any questions, let me know. Let me know what you want to see in the comments below in future videos. And if you're interested in coaching, I'll put a link below to drop me a message on WhatsApp, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. See you next time. Peace.